But let's start with the European Championship qualifying, because there are 10 qualifying groups, of course. The top 2 from each group go through automatically. And one or two countries, of course, like England and Scotland, are guaranteed a playoff spot. And if you want to understand the playoffs, then read out for that yourselves. But it is linked to the UEFA Nations League. So if you finish third, that's not you're not going to get a playoff spot. Traditionally speaking,
as you would have done before.
Yeah, it's a little bit convoluted, so we'll just crack on with England versus Czech Republic. England, of course, in a group with Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Montenegro, and Kosovo. Now, because England are one of the 4 teams still left in the UEFA Nations League, they are in a group with 5 teams.
Yeah.
That is so England can play the Netherlands in northern Portugal.
Listen,
in June.
it pays to win. Just win games. Win games. You can't go wrong.
Momentum.
Yeah.
When the Dutch beat us.
Mogmentum.
It's going to be gutting. It is
when
going to
the
be
Dutch beat us, yeah.
But Gareth's gang are back in action at Wembley. And then off to Podgorica to play Montenegro.
Can I just maybe suggest Gareth Gubbers?
Well, we'll wait. Let's wait and see.
Gubbing everyone their path. This ain't a qualification campaign. This is a UK tour.
Yeah.
This is a European tour.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, get Tony Gubber in charge.
Yeah. This is the first leg of the victory lap, effectively, isn't it?
Tony Gubber, God rest him, eh?
Yeah.
God rest him.
Nice to have a mention of his name from me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, damn right. What a man. Yes, so the England squad has had a few little changes because of certain people being out injured. Callum Hudson-Odoi promoted from the under-21s to the senior squad. He hasn't made a Premier League start, only featured in a handful of cup games for Chelsea. He was a part of that England under-17 side that won the under-17s World Cup, so he's got pedigree. And will that winning mentality serve him well in that Gareth Southgate England senior side?
I would think so, because genuinely you might be a little bit cynical about this otherwise, had Southgate not had that history of sort of, wanting to sort of join up the youth setup with the senior team a lot more, because, he hasn't played a lot of football. We hear he's great, and we've seen flashes of what he can do, and he does look very promising.
And a £35 million bid from Bayern.
Quite, yeah.
It could have been a Theo Walcott World Cup 2010 situation.
Yes.
But we've moved on from that kind of stuff now.
Quite, yes.
It's like there's more joined up thing.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Let's not.
Yeah.
But Southgate does like to, the people say, likes to run it almost like a club side. Is Southgate England's Solskjaer, or is Solskjaer Manchester United's Southgate? It's there, isn't it?
The mind boggles.
Indeed, it does. Yeah. So England there. What do we fancy for the starting 11? I mean, there'll be some of the usual suspects. I mean, Tom Heaton said he's enjoying his rivalry with Jordan Pickford for the number 1 jersey.
Is he talking up his chances there?
I
Would you
think
say
he
by
is.
saying that?
I think he's.
I'm enjoying this rivalry. Is there a rivalry? Because I'm fairly certain that Pickford's got the gloves.
How's your distribution?
Marcus, you're in charge of his campaign. What's mood like in the camp?
Well, we are quite reticent to go for that sort of second the second place choice. I think Tom Heaton's played very well recently, but Pickford's the number 1.
But I feel, though, as we've seen of late, it's possible to get into Jordan Pickford's head.
Yes.
So I think Tom Heaton should probably just be pranking him like all over the training ground. And
if a lot of Czech Republic fans are Newcastle fans, which they might be, the late great Pavel Srnicek, being a link there, they could get in Pickford's head, couldn't they?
Yes, they could.
And that might be disastrous. Pickford is the number 1 for England. Let's not be silly. Because he fits into the system well. He does have the odd mistake in him, lest we forget. But he can rugby tackle his way out of trouble.
His distribution is why we love Jordan Pickford in an English shirt.
And it is a big part of how England play as
Massively.
well.
Whereas
also, sorry, Max, but we're in a situation where we're in a bit of a transient situation with the goalkeepers, right? Because the 3 goalkeepers that came with us to the World Cup were, of course, Pickford, Butland, and Pope. And Pope's now got a very serious injury.
That's right.
So he's not being considered, and Butland's now playing in the Championship. I know he's in the squad.
He is.
But those 2 reasons alone mean that Pickford is head and shoulders above everyone else, because Southgate isn't going to go, right, now Tom Heaton's back, I'm going to give him the jersey because he's playing well. He's going to say, and we know this is his style of management, and you could apply it to perhaps the selection of Kieran Trippier over Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and you could apply it to maybe 1 or 2 others as well. The same way he treated Jake Livermore, for example, when he said, I want to be loyal to him for these reasons. Pickford's got the jersey. He's not going to lose it.
Yep.
The only way Pickford's going to lose the jersey is if he goes through a sustained period of bad performances, crucially, in an England shirt.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's going to be picked. It's as simple as that.
The folly of rotating your goalkeepers, even for a FA Cup or League Cup run, I think is a little bit foolish, because if you're going to have the same defenders in front of you, I mean, obviously we don't have the luxury of that this time, because obviously there are a few notable absences. But like, if you look backwards and you see a different goalkeeper playing a slightly different way, I don't buy that it gives you anything extra to rotate keepers.
Who's going to get the rave on? Who's
Well,
going to get the damn rave on?
Do you think, though, that 33-year-old Tom Heaton, who's played the majority of his career recently at Burnley, do you think distribution, passing, playing out with your feet, do you think that's going to be the order of the day?
I think he's a lovely, handsome lad.
Definitely.
He loves his mum.
Absolutely.
And he deserves a shot.
But on personality, he'd be in there for me.
To expand on the Kieran Trippier point, Trippier's, by his own standards, had an awful season.
Well, and he said this recently, didn't he? In the press, in the interviews before the game, he said that, I've not been particularly good this season.
Yeah, but Southgate will say, what message would it send out if a guy I've relied upon and has been one of our best performers in a major tournament, scored in the semi-final and all that, but he was excellent. His passing range, all the rest of it, his delivery's fantastic. He's a guy that Southgate feels like he can rely on. And what message would it send out to a group of players where Southgate, beyond anything else, has tried to manufacture this team spirit and develop this team spirit? If he says, effectively, enjoy yourselves, but by the way, if you have a couple of bad performances, you're out. He's going to be loyal, and he did it with Jake Livermore. He said, Jake really helped us out when we needed a midfield player. So I understand that he's not played to a really high standard recently for his club side, but we're not going to jettison him because we want to show him loyalty. The loyalty he showed us. Didn't Jake Livermore go to the camp when he had a really serious family issue or something like that,
Quite possibly.
and really pulled something out of the fire to help the squad? And Southgate's rewarding that kind of loyalty, and that's why we see someone like Trippier being in there still.
And that's why you see players raising their game to get back into the squad as well, because as we said, during the World Cup, clearly players want to be a part of this, and it felt for a long time like players weren't that fussed about playing for England, and that's a really sad state of affairs when your national team has got to that point. But now it's everyone wants to be part of this gang.
Yeah,
it's great.
And you know what players can do as well. And I understand that you can't pick players who are having an absolutely awful time, but it's a very fine balance.
We used to.
Indeed. It's a very fine balance for a national team manager, somebody, say, like an England manager who has a few more options than maybe one or two other sides, because you can't be too fickle, because players won't like that, and it's perhaps not a good idea. You need a bit of continuity in the squad, but at the same time, you need to give people chances on merit. And I think Southgate's actually balancing that quite well. Now, Wan-Bissaka's the biggest omission, really, we think. But he's had a word, and I think it's A.D. Boothroyd who's in charge of the under-21s. I think he's clearly had a word with Bissaka and said, look, I want you in the under-21s for now. You'll get your chance. And I think, again, that's managing the situation pretty well. I mean, James Ward-Prowse is in there. He played very well of late. And Declan Rice is in there as well. Jadon Sancho. Yeah, we've already mentioned Hudson.
Well, Southgate can stand by his record of playing young players. He ain't going for the old kind of 30-year-old.
No. And the Wan-Bissaka point is just that I feel that they've got cover in that position for the games they've got coming up. I think they should have enough about them to beat Czech Republic, and Bet365 feel the same, by the way, that England are 3-10 to beat the Czech Republic with Bet365, £10 returns, £13 including stake. But also, I think there's a feeling that if you call a guy up from the under-21s and stick him in the squad, and he's playing in the Premier League, it's very difficult politically to then go, right, see you later back. You go back to the under-21. So A.D. Boothroyd will know that once he's gone, he's gone. And Southgate, again, as Pete's mentioned, is keen on young players, keen on development. So he thinks that's the best place for him. And I haven't got a problem with that.
Yeah, well, and also dangle the carrot in front of them. Wales are in Group E with Croatia, Slovakia, Hungary and Azerbaijan. Wales beat Trinidad and Tobago 1-0 last night. Ben Woodburn scored a 91st minute winner. They're off and running.
A salve off and running.
Yeah. It was laboured, wasn't it?
It was.
Breathy.
It's an odd one, isn't it? Normally, if you have a friendly match, the tradition is to play a team from a similar region in the world to the team you're about to play against. Teams do it all the time. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. But playing a friendly against Trinidad and Tobago, I was surprised at that.
Yeah, well, I watched Brazilian highlights of it, which confused me even further.
Well, they love it down there.
Amazing, amazing.
And what was even more amazing, Ryan Giggs was in attendance for the friendly match.
Hey,
That's the joke that will never end.
yeah, and rightly so as well.
Yeah, was Rodri there? We don't know. But yes, I mean, Giggs actually has been a little bit criticised himself, and he said the qualifying campaign will define his time as Wales manager. In 9 games so far, they've lost 5, won 3, and Giggs' other commitments have been questioned. He's an ambassador for the Champions League and is involved in a football academy in Vietnam, among other things. So spends his time around the world, and people are a bit like,
I think it's valid, and I'm a
Jurgen Klinsmann.
huge admirer of Ryan Giggs and what he's achieved in his career, as I'm sure we all are. But Wales have got a bit of an opportunity here. I know they had a decent Euro 2016, and that was followed up by a bit of disappointment around 2018. But they've got so many good young players. I mean, I wouldn't profess to be an expert on Welsh football, but they've got more good young players than I can ever remember. I mean, like they've got, and not only with that, they've got it sort of smattered with a good amount of experience as well. Players
They've
like
got a spine.
Aaron Ramsey, Joe Allen, and Bale, of course. But some of those players, David Brooks, Harry Wilson, Ben Woodburn, Tyler Roberts. There's
Daniel James looks impressive.
Daniel James with his pace.
Paul Dummett. You know? No, but genuinely, they've got a good combination. Daniel James is another great example. A lot of them, obviously doing good things at Swansea. So what they need really is a manager who's going to get Rabbi Matondo, by the way, is at Schalke as well. They need something essentially what we talked about in the first half of the show with Southgate, who's so into it, who's so into developing young players, so into building the team spirit, getting it going in a way that Chris Coleman did. Now, if you watch the Sunderland Till I Die documentary, to my great surprise, I don't know the man, but Chris Coleman came across amazingly. He came across as such a brilliant sort of man manager around the camp, and everyone loved him there. And you can see how he managed to manufacture that team spirit at Wales. They need someone like that to do that now.
It's so crucial at international level.
Yeah, I'm not criticising Giggs because he's new to the job and he's an inexperienced coach, but he's got to put himself in there, and he's got to really immerse himself in it because those players deserve it.
Absolutely right. Yeah, and with Giggs, he often comes across quite quiet and conservative in press conferences, and that's fine. It doesn't necessarily mean that can't translate to the dressing room if he talks a good game and whatnot, but he will be defined by this qualifying campaign, I think.
Of course.
And we will see after Wales, they were a bit unlucky. They finished 3rd, didn't they, I think, in their qualification group for the World Cup, and expectations were high, in the context of Wales after that Euro 2016 campaign. So it would be interesting, and it is a group that is doable because it's the top 2 that go through, and you've got Croatia, Wales, Slovakia, Hungary, and Azerbaijan. Wales are, for me, the second best side. I would put them above Slovakia. I think Croatia would be the best side, but you don't need to be the best side. You finish second and you're away.
Also, as well, if Wales are on top of their game, they can take something off Croatia.
Okay, of course they can. Yeah,
they need to start off with a win against Slovakia. Slovakia at home, isn't it?
Slovakia at home.
They got to win that. They have to win that, and it's not acceptable. I'm not accusing him of this, but just in case, ahead of time, in case it turns out that he is like this, you can't be a dilettante in this kind of thing. I think there's an element to that class of '92 generation of Man United players. They just want to
assume they know everything. Almost.
Well, not that. For me, it's just they want to do everything. So they want to own Salford City. They want to be pundits. They want to be coaches.
It's the same reason why David Beckham was not like some LA Galaxy staunch riot squad LA Galaxy fans don't understand why David Beckham's got a statue.
Yeah, completely.
Every time an international rolled around, he'd be popping back to try and get in the squad.
Well, it wasn't even that. He was going off and playing for other teams and missing parts of the season.
So you have this situation where. And I know there was an issue with Oldham Athletic and the reason that Scholes did what he did. He's there for a month. Gary Neville was at Valencia for 5 minutes. He's a coach at England for a bit under Hodgson. Now he's a pundit again. Ryan Giggs wants to be an international manager, but he also wants to be an ambassador for the Champions League. He wants to
which he was over in South Africa fairly recently doing
do
stuff.
what you in a key time.
If you're going to do the Ronaldinho thing, do the Ronaldinho thing. It can work.
Well, just work out what you do well post football career and do it.
I do fear that Wales, for all of the success they've relative to their status and obviously size they've had in international football, they do have a very small pool of cash to hand out to any prospective managers. So I imagine any agreement that Ryan Giggs had, I imagine would be something approaching a part-time basis.
But he's not short of money, is he?
I know
he
he's
shouldn't be
not
doing
short
it
of
for
money.
money. He shouldn't be doing it for that reason.
Well,
if he's going to engage in that job on that basis, he shouldn't be doing it.
Well,
it's as simple as that, in my opinion.
I think you get takers for the Wales. It might not be top-end managers, but you'd...
Oh, it's
With
a
those
it's a
players.
wonderful project for someone rebuilding their career as a manager. I think as a top
Someone
class, as a top tier international manager. But in Ryan Giggs' case, he's got no portfolio. He's got no history. He's got no history as a manager, really. So like, this is his one chance. So yeah, I agree.
Or
I
do you
think
go
he should,
to
I
the
think he
other
should be
end?
doing it full time, and he should be leaving the commercial concerns for at least a couple of years. He'll find a pot of cash once he gets.
Yeah, it's
fired
not
from
as
the
though
job.
anyone's going to forget about who Ryan Giggs
No,
is.
exactly.
Pete is half Welsh, to be fair, so he should be the one we defer to on this.
Now, speaking of all the UK and Irish teams, according to reports, the National Football Associations of said countries will meet tomorrow to discuss a potential bid for the 2030 World Cup. What do we think of this? The FIFA guidelines state that World Cup stadiums must have at least 40,000 capacity for group games, 60,000 for semi-finals and 80,000 for the opening ceremony or a match or final. So that obviously limits certain countries. I'm surprised actually 40,000 for group games. But then, of course, the recent World Cups, Russia was a huge stadia and same with Brazil and so on.
Yeah.
But there is a rival bid from a South American coalition involving Chile, Argentina, Uruguay and Paraguay as potential hosts. And of course, the first World Cup in 1930 was hosted in Uruguay.
Yeah. I think so.
And so there's kind of a little bit of symmetry there. Of course, 100 years on the centenary World Cup in that part of the world. But then a potential bid from Britain and Ireland, I think would be.
It'd be strong, yeah. I think we're coming to the end of just single hosts.
Well, we are.
I was going to
Seems
say that.
be-
Did I dream this, or was it the case that FIFA never used to favour joint bids, and they were sort of begrudgingly dish them out, and
I
UEFA
think
were
Like
the
Japan
same.
and South Korea.
Yeah,
Right.
but now it appears to be because of the logistics involved and because of everything that's gone on. It appears like it's de rigueur.
And air travel as well is so
Yeah.
much easier
Yeah,
nowadays
true.
than it used to be.
Well, that's the great thing about having a UK and Ireland World Cup. It's so small, you can get around easily. Whereas the 2026 World Cup in the US, Canada, the US and Canada and Mexico there's an awful lot of travel there.
And that's got to be planned properly because there was a controversy around the '94 World Cup final where I think the Italian team were based up in the northeast of the country, and the final was in California.
That's right.
And I don't think they were properly planned for in terms of giving them time to. I remember we talked about it when we did a retrospective on it on this show. I think a lot of the Italian players were just absolutely knackered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, they
What's
were
the
ruined.
time zone?
Baresi was on
Five?
like one leg or something.
Yeah,
One of them
Roberto
was.
Baggio as well.
Yeah, that's it, Badger. Yeah, time difference is I think it's 3 or 4
East
hours
and West
between.
Coast, yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's
Definitely, I think
It's
it's
4
four,
times
I
as I
think
think.
it's
I
a
think
four,
you're
right,
right. Of course, the next World Cup though, not too much travel in Qatar.
No.
That'll be absolutely fine. Although Infantino wants them to share
Yeah.
the World Cup with a neighbouring country. Problems with that, of course, for political reasons.
Yeah.
He wants.
Is the neighbouring country Switzerland?
Remind me of the neighbouring countries.
yeah.
Is this
That's a no. That's a no. That's a no. Yeah.
because he wants to expand the tournament to 48 teams in Qatar. Now, Qatar signed up for a 32-team World Cup. The smart people in the room think, well, they're not even capable of that.
Yeah.
So let alone another load of teams. So he said, well, can't you just share it? Can't you just kiss and make up? And it's kind of like, Gianni.
Johnny,
Gianni.
overreaching, mate.
How much is enough,
Overreaching.
Johnny?
Yeah.
Quit while you're a bit behind.
We all want world peace, but mate,
Yeah,
He is a notable egg though.
he is.
He is a
What's the
notable egg.
plan in the end? Just like do away with qualifying and have the World Cup just constantly happening all the time?
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
to challenge the
I'm up for it.
Champions League, the Premier League, La Liga, all the rest of it. Get rid of club football. International football is the way forward. I think that's what they'd like.
We get more sponsors.
Would we? Oh, well, I'm up for it as well.
The World Cup's great.
Gianni, get over there. Get the handshakes done.
Yeah.
Excellent.